Fire away.
Oh, in the past kind of 3 or 4 practices, have you seen Dalton Risner kind of come along?
He's a pro. I mean, it's kind of like I mentioned last week. He knows what to do. It's just a matter of getting all the terminology and verbiage, and it doesn't take him long. He's a smart guy. He's progressing quickly. So. And then he's getting some good reps in practice throughout, and really reps for those guys. A lot of times, linemen. I mean, whether it's scout team, whether it's with the ones, you're getting. Sometimes the scout team reps are better because you're going against the one defense, and you're running our protection schemes, and you're running some version of our run plays. But it's a drive block, it's a combination. It's a reach, all those types of things. So he's getting good work. He's coming along nicely.
I know both teams are obviously in the same position record-wise, but when you're game planning for a defense of a team that's 0-3, does that change how you game plan? Like, do you expect them to do different things, to be more aggressive, stuff like that, or do you just treat it like any normal game?
I think that's a good question. I don't think that most guys are going to try to press or reach, from a defensive standpoint. Ejiro, know him well. Ultimately they're trying to find ways to attack us, attack our schemes, and we're trying to do the same. And I don't see him being desperate in any way to do anything that's unsound. They just want to play better, and likewise for us.
Wes, you had Garrett for all of 7 snaps. Just what would it be like to get him back in there with that interior line?
His communication is such high level. His understanding of the game and the system and kind of what we need him to know as far as when you're checking plays, kind of responses. He just has a great way about being calm up there, a calm presence, and we check to a play, from a play. He understands why. He understands the criteria of why we got to that, and kind of the responses from the defense. And it's not to say that other guys don't, but the experience at that position, and really from year 1 to year 2 has really grown.
When you see some of the ineffectiveness in the red zone, have you pinpointed to certain things, or is each time representative of a different mistake? Have you found anything overall commonality?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily look at last game. We were ineffective in the red zone, but we've had some really good moments in the red zone as well, and we've scored from outside the red zone as well. So I think you take it play by play. You take it, what was our scheme? Did we get the looks that we expected to? Did we read it the right way? Did we run the ball effectively? All of those things. You take it play by play, and just evaluate and try to make sure we have the best plan possible going forward.
Justin was saying that in the red zone is where at least he said this last week, that is where he tends to see the most exotic or the most focused coverages in his mind, I guess, at least. And you guys have taken advantage of that in a few cases to get some wide open scores. Is that just kind of the trade-off of who he is, or are there ways to scheme up ways to get him out of those coverages?
It's more difficult down there with less space. If you talk about a double out in the field, there's still chances with all the grass because there's a vertical element to it. When you're down there, like for instance, we got pressured and couldn't get it to Alex Madison in the game on a big down. He was doubled on that play. Everyone else was locked up in man, and Alex had an ability to come across the field, and he's wide open, and unfortunately we couldn't get it to him. That's one of those plays you talk about where scheme-wise good, execution not as good. But because he was doubled, that meant that everyone else was singled, and we were able to get a nice rub and get a guy open. So that's kind of what we wanted, but ultimately, there's a lot of factors that go into it, but certainly harder. I understand that people look at it probably a lot and say, just throw it to Justin, right? But with a condensed space, if they are going to commit 2 players, one guy outside, one guy inside, to one player, it can be a little more challenging than that.
How mindful are you guys like mid-game in trying to find the correct opportunity to work some of the Justin on those doubles?
I think when they show up the most is red zone and then third downs, and that's why you see him in different spots. You see him motioning in, motioning out, all those types of things. To sometimes you can get, if you got a guy that's supposed to be inside, a guy that's supposed to be outside, and then you get one guy in the wrong leverage, and now the other guy is a non-factor. There are times when we beat kind of shorter doubles. The challenging thing with Justin is that he's got a vertical presence as well, whereas some guys, maybe if he's an underneath choice guy, you can kind of east-west double him and take away a lot of his game. But Justin can beat you vertically as well as underneath. So it's tough on them, but we put in a lot of work to try to feature Justin, and for good reason.
Wes, on Justin's touchdown, Kevin was saying yesterday just about how he's fearless and kind of the way he attacks that play. I guess how does a fearlessness play into his success, and kind of where does that sit among his traits?
He's just a phenomenal football player. I can't tell you where it comes from or how he is that fearless. He just naturally, he's tough. He's got a pride about him, about how he plays the game. He works for a guy who's arguably the best receiver in the league, in my opinion, at least, for sure. The way he goes about his work, the way he bounces around in practice and runs off the ball, and he's just really special. And across the middle, he's just got traits. Just really, when you look at it, he can win at all levels. He's an amazing athlete. He works hard. He's a great guy. I mean, we're just really lucky to have him. Fearlessness is a part of it, but it's just a small part. It's just a part of the whole picture. And, he's having a great year, and there's no real secret to why. He's just a great player.
Well, so I know you only worked with him 1 year, but what impressed you most about Adam Thielen and what he brought to the table for you guys?
Just consummate professional, understanding of the game, understanding of concepts, where he needs to be in the timing of the concept, whether he's one, whether he's backside. He's just the football conversations I have with him were always high level. He had experience with a lot of different things in the past. Hey, what we used to do sometimes we'd do this, and he had input that we could use as coaches. And then on top of that, just being a phenomenal person, human being. Really enjoyed my time with him. It'll be good to at least say hello before the game.
How important was running the football effectively this past weekend? I guess moving forward, how essential is that going to be for you guys?
It's huge. To rush for over 100 yards, to have an efficient run game, it opens other things up, and it when you start off in the first drive, I think it was 5 straight runs, and you feel like you get some momentum as an offense when you can pass and run, and just really you're calling plays, and guys are coming off the ball, they're firing off, and more than anything, I credit the offensive linemen, the tight ends, the backs who are running the football. There was a real urgency about the practice, and that's what we tried to highlight to these guys. The way you guys practiced showed up in the game, and it's not to say we were just screwing around in previous weeks, but there was an intentional purpose about we are going to make this better. With the techniques, the way they came off the ball, the urgency, the combinations, the hat placements, everything about it, you could feel it. And the coaches coached it hard, and it showed up in the game. So I think that can be a nice building block going forward. And hopefully, we've tried to tell these guys, it showed up, right? It showed up. So let's continue to do it. Let's keep growing in that area, and that'll be huge for us.
Where does Cam Akers fit into that equation now that he has a week under his belt?
Cam's a talented back, and planning on keep mixing him in and in practice and hopefully get him some ops this week.
Do you have, do you have any 1998 memories of your dad's team going from 0-3 to the playoffs?
I do have some memories of that time. Had just graduated high school in 97 rules. But yeah, it's been done. It's not like there's a lot of football left. We've got a 17th game now as opposed to 16. So the odds percentages, are more so in your favor. We got ourselves in a little hole. People have 3-game stretches where they lose games throughout the season. It's just when it happens the first 3 games, then it feels doom and gloom. But what we're focused on is this week. That's all that's important. That's all that we can control is go 1-0 this week.
What is the biggest, challenge or the biggest way that Brian Burns affects the game?
Well, the pass rush really shows up. He's very athletic. He's very slippery in the run game as well. On blocks, he can kind of get around, get through, and still play his gap or play his contain. So very talented player, and they have Justin Houston as well, who's he's a part of the 100 sack club, which is a pretty good group to be in. So these guys know how to rush. In the NFL, every week is a big challenge, and kind of figuring out how guys rush and how we can hopefully limit some of their effect on the game.
You guys did lose 3 straight in that Super Bowl run in LA. What do you remember from that time period? And was the team down and you had to build back up, or was the 7-1 start?
A lot of times, what you do feel some of the outside. It was oh god, the season is over. And we had a bye week in there as well, so it was like a 4-week stretch where we didn't win a football game. But the guys in the building never really wavered. Always believed that we were a good football team, like we believe here. The results haven't shown as far as the win column, but we do believe that we are a good football team and that we are going to win a lot of football games this year. And it just takes one to kind of get the ball rolling a little bit, and that's what we're going to try to do this week.
There was a play where KJ was coming across on a crossing around the end zone, and Kirk threw, and it was just a little bit late. And on that play, TJ just kind of got knocked down right away and took him out of that. Are there things you can do to kind of anticipate that as the tight end or get around that?
Well, sometimes, that was a keeper or a bootleg, whatever you want to call that. And sometimes when you've got 2 tight ends against a base defense and one guy's getting through, there is a traffic pattern there at times where it can be difficult. We actually got a little bit of different look than we had expected on that particular play, but sometimes those tight ends, especially any closer to the line, you got a chance to get beat up a little bit, and unfortunately he just got knocked off on that one, and then Kirk really went to the only place. Didn't really expect that to be the throw, but really went to the only place that he probably had an opportunity.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.